Next speaker will also delivering important message to us about ASEAN. Please, His Excellency Mr. Michael Tene, as a Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN. Mr. Michael Tene, please yours.
Thank you, Ibu Sarah. His Excellency Ambassador Jose Tavares, the Director General of ASEAN Cooperation from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Bapak Sulaiman Sumawinata, the FIA BCI Asia Pacific President, distinguished speakers and participants, of course, Pak Tito Loho and his team who has been working hard to organize this event. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to start by commending the timely commencement of this ASEAN Superblock online forum to promote ASEAN as the center of global economic growth. I understand that gathered here on this Zoom webinar platform are the many core stakeholders in infrastructure business, especially in the property industry. 2020 is a watershed year for all of us. This unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic that is confronting ASEAN and the world has caused great uncertainty in our region. The COVID pandemic is not just a global public health crisis, but also a serious economic one. The economic impact of COVID-19 is significant with both demand and supply side shocks. The world economy is expected to enter into a recession. Similar to the situation in other regions and countries globally, the pandemic has severely impacted ASEAN member states' public health and their economies, including the sectors of trade, services, tourism, and travel. Growth projection for the Southeast Asia region this year has been revised lower to 2.7% contraction, which will be the first contraction since the Asia financial crisis in 1997. The economic and social impact of this pandemic is therefore very significant and broad-based, affecting lives and livelihood of our people. ASEAN has responded to the pandemic in a swift, decisive, and cohesive manner at the regional and bilateral levels. At the early stages of this crisis, member states acted quickly to boost liquidity and sustain macroeconomic stability. Stimulus measures were rolled out at unprecedented scale and speed to support the health systems and the vulnerable sectors, including micro, small, and medium enterprises. Some of the member states are now transitioning from lockdown measures to slowly opening up their communities and economic activities based on sustained public health and social measures. The ASEAN health sector responded immediately to the outbreak as early as the first week of January 2020 through the mobilization of some of its instruments, such as the ASEAN Emergency Operations Center Network for Public Health Emergencies, the ASEAN Biodiaspora Virtual Center for Big Data Analytics and Visualization, the ASEAN Risk Assessment and Risk Communication Center, as well as the network of regional public health laboratories, disease surveillance, and health experts on communicable diseases. The ASEAN health ministers, through a joint statement adopted during the special video conference meeting on 7 April 2020, resolved further to enhance cooperation within ASEAN-led mechanism and with partners in capacity building interventions on public health emergency preparedness and response, in information exchanges and sharing of critical lessons learned and good practices, as well as resource mobilization on drug and vaccine security and self-reliance. At the special ASEAN Summit on COVID-19 on 14 April 2020, our leaders adopted a declaration and also endorsed a set of practical recommendations in mitigating the impact of COVID-19, including the establishment of a COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund to address both the immediate needs and long-term goals of ASEAN member states stemming from the pandemic. In addition, ASEAN is also working toward the establishment of the ASEAN Regional Reserve of medical supplies for public health emergencies and the formulation of ASEAN Standard Operating Procedures for public health emergencies. ASEAN is also committed to keep its market open, coordinate and share information, and ensure supply chain connectivity, particularly for essential products. This is most evident in the recent adoption of the Hanoi Plan of Action on strengthening economic cooperation and supply chain connectivity. At the recent ASEAN Summit, the 36th ASEAN Summit on June 26 last month, the ASEAN leaders once again reiterated their collective will and shared commitment to strengthen solidarity and enhance cooperation both among ASEAN member states and with its external partners and the international community in the fight against this pandemic, while working towards a comprehensive post-pandemic recovery plan for ASEAN. An ASEAN Leaders Vision Statement was adopted by leaders to reaffirm their resolution in responding to the current crisis and future challenges. As mentioned by Pak Jose, ASEAN leaders have also proposed to look into an ASEAN travel corridor arrangements to facilitate movement of people in the region. And this work will be very important given that member states are currently in various stages of economic reopening and movement restrictions are gradually being eased. Apart from the health and economic sectors, various ASEAN sectoral bodies have also been working hard in addressing the challenges brought by the pandemic. In addition, various high-level meetings with our external partners, including the special ASEAN +3 summit and special meetings with other dialogue partners such as China, Japan, South Korea, European Union, Russia, United States, and Australia have taken place in the last couple of months. And all this demonstrated the collective solidarity and commitment of ASEAN and its partners to respond to the pandemic together in political, economic, and public health areas. While the COVID-19 pandemic has derailed some of our events and initiatives, ASEAN, under Vietnam's strong and able chairmanship, stays focused in undertaking important milestone exercise as the region demonstrates its commitment in its integration journey. One activity is the midterm review of the implementation of ASEAN Community 2025 Blueprint, which is currently being conducted. This is pivotal in assessing the progress, identifying the challenges, and addressing the implementation gaps of the three pillars of the ASEAN community, namely the political security pillar, the economic pillar, and the socio-cultural pillar. Another example is the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which is the ASEAN-driven trade pact deemed as the largest globally, consists of every key ASEAN economy. So while we are dealing with the immediate challenges of the COVID-19, we are still continuing with the other long-term priority of ASEAN. Indeed, ASEAN continues to make headway toward a fully fledged, politically cohesive, economically integrated, and socially responsible community. There has never been greater interest in the prospect and opportunities arising from ASEAN's regional integration than what we witness today. ASEAN continues to receive sustained international attention and increased engagement with external partners to collaborate and be a part of ASEAN's community building efforts. Based on the data from the ASEAN statistics, the ASEAN's total GDP in 2018 was around $3 trillion, which was twofold of the amount a decade ago. Back in 2008, the total GDP of ASEAN was $1.6 trillion. The construction sector in particular contributed a significant 7% share to the GDP. I expect that this percentile to rise in the coming years, especially in the post-COVID-19 era, given the economic vibrancy and robustness of our region. In spite of the ongoing pandemic, the convening of the recent summit, the 36th ASEAN Summit, which was conducted through video conference facilities. It's the first time happening in the history of ASEAN. It was a clear illustration of ASEAN's solidarity manifested in concrete regional cooperation. As mentioned above, at the summit, ASEAN leaders reaffirmed the need for a regional recovery plan post-COVID-19, which would involve collaboration among government agencies, industries, private sectors, and other relevant stakeholders. The ultimate task is for ASEAN to have a robust, holistic, and practical recovery framework to minimize the socio-economic effect of this pandemic, while at the same time propelling the economic trajectory. For short to medium term, ASEAN must juggle between managing public health risk and the economies until an effective vaccine and treatment are discovered, while still keeping in step with the overall ASEAN community building agenda. In the long term, investments are needed to strengthen public health systems, social protection, and the social, digital, and information communication technologies and infrastructures, among others. Indeed, for our community building efforts to be truly effective and meaningful, it is compelling to enlist the support of all stakeholders, like the business community, civil society organization, and many others gathered here today. After all, each stakeholder has a vital role to play in ensuring inclusiveness in ASEAN's integration process. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand that there's an interest of the ASEAN Property Forum to become an entity associated with ASEAN. For your information, as of 1st July 2020, there are 74 entities associated with ASEAN that are listed in the Annex 2 of the ASEAN Charter. They are classified into 5 categories, namely the parliamentarians and judiciary, civil society organizations, business organizations, think tanks and academic institutions, and other stakeholders. Annually, the ASEAN Secretariat would convene the Forum of Entities to keep these affiliated entities updated on ASEAN's work and priorities, as well as to encourage them to engage with us and with one another. Although the engagement with ASEAN is listed as a privilege to those entities associated with ASEAN, the ASEAN Secretariat has never closed our doors to explore potential collaboration with entities yet to be associated. For the record, the engagement and accreditation of the entities are governed by the rules of procedures and criteria for engagement for entities associated with ASEAN and its guidelines, which stipulated various privileges and obligations resulted from the accreditation. The use of ASEAN name, use of ASEAN emblem, access to convey inputs and or views to ASEAN sectoral body are among such privileges. Matter pertaining to entities associated with ASEAN, especially the accreditation process, is handled by the Community Relations Division in ASEAN Secretariat. And I encourage those who are interested to touch base with the Community Relations Division for this purpose. Finally, once again, I am very delighted that the ASEAN Secretariat is invited to this online event. And I believe this forum is a very effective platform to forge deeper engagement between the relevant stakeholders in ASEAN and in particular in the property industry. And I wish all of us to have a very productive deliberation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks to His Excellency Mr. Michael Tene for the speech.